Vanessa always had this specific rule she liked to talk about. She said that dating was a free-for-all, and you could go out with whoever you wanted. But when it came to marriage, she would only settle down with a guy who was under 26. So, on the day I turned 26, Vanessa pulled a fast one on me. She tricked me into getting on a plane and flying 1,000 miles away, all so she could propose to her new intern without me there. She even had her security team block the entrance to the event, giving them strict orders not to let Jack Miller, that's me, anywhere near the place. But even after her big proposal ceremony was over, I never showed up to cause a scene. That was when she started to get nervous. The chat window on the screen was scrolling so fast it was hard to read. People were typing things like, "What is the main character doing? Does he not realize Vanessa is waiting for him to crash the wedding? She's going to be heartbroken. Seriously, sensitive people need a partner who is steady. He's changed." If it were me, even if Vanessa was being difficult, I'd still hug her. I just smiled at the screen. No crying, no big dramatic scene. I simply turned around and bought a ticket for a flight out of the country. Maybe I really was the problem. I'll admit it, I have changed. Vanessa was in a terrible mood that morning. I could sense it the second I woke up. When my alarm clock buzzed, I was still half asleep, but my body moved on autopilot to shut it off. I rolled over, planning to put my arm around her. Vanessa pulled away from me. I woke up fully then, and opened my eyes. All I could see was her back as she got dressed, facing the wall. The atmosphere in the room felt thick and heavy as she walked out of the bedroom without saying a single word to me. I sat there on the bed, feeling confused, with a nervous knot tightening in my stomach. I found myself glancing at the live comments feed. It had already blown up. "He's still just sitting there zoning out? Vanessa is about to lose her mind. Wouldn't you be angry if your husband slept with his back to you all night? Vanessa stayed up all night staring at his back, almost crying. My heart breaks for her. Only an idiot like him could sleep so deeply." So she was mad because I had turned away from her in my sleep? But I was just incredibly tired. There had been a screw-up at the event the day before. The new intern was supposed to handle the drink orders, but he got the dates mixed up. The drinks were scheduled to arrive 2 days later, not yesterday. I had looked at the intern. His eyes were red, and his voice sounded like he was about to cry. "I don't know. How could this happen? I'm so stupid I can't even get this one thing right. It's all my fault, but I didn't do it on purpose. Can you please stop looking at me like that? I'm exhausted, I'm stressed, and I'm worried about whether I'll even get hired permanently." I hadn't even said anything to him, but he was already running off with his head hung low. A few minutes later, Vanessa called me. "It already happened. Just fix it. Why are you giving the intern a hard time?" Her defensive tone hurt, but the live comments were laughing at me. "My husband hasn't texted me in almost 2 hours. I'm mad. That intern is such a drama queen. If Vanessa wasn't using him to make the main character jealous, she wouldn't even look at him. Does he actually think he's special? LOL. She has to be the most stubborn person ever. Stop picking at the money tree or she's going to leave. Look at his miserable face. She needs her man to come comfort her." But how was I supposed to comfort her? A feeling of total helplessness washed over me. I opened my mouth to speak several times, but nothing came out. Then Mike ran over to me. "Jack, it's all sorted. I contacted our old supplier. They can help us out, but they are short on staff, so we have to unload the truck ourselves." I finally let out a long breath. To the person waiting silently on the other end of the phone, I said, "Got it. I'm busy. I have to go." That was clearly not the response Vanessa wanted. According to the comments, I should have dropped everything and run back to her. I should have told her that no matter what was going on, she was the most important thing in the world to me. but I couldn't do it. Or maybe I was just finding it harder and harder to muster the energy to do it. The whole day, from setting up to cleaning up, left everyone completely drained. When I finally packed up my things and walked out of the venue, I saw Vanessa waiting by the curb. She was smoking a cigarette. Through the cloud of smoke, she looked at me with a blank stare, like she was looking at a total stranger. I stopped walking, suddenly afraid to go over there. Would she even say hello? Would she slam the car door and drive off before I got close? Or would she hit me with a sarcastic, "Who are you? Do I know you?" I had been through this routine so many times. I was supposed to chase her, lower my dignity, and apologize until she wasn't mad anymore. But I was just too tired. Right now, even faking a smile felt like too much effort. Just then, the intern, Toby, ran out. "Ms. Mercer, you really came to pick me up? I was just joking when I said that, haha. You're so nice to me. Come on, I'll take you to get some really good ramen." I saw Vanessa's lips curve into a small smile. She opened the passenger door, holding it for Toby as he climbed in. Then she walked around to the driver's side. Before she closed her door, she paused for a few seconds. She was waiting. She was waiting for me to yell out to her, waiting for me to aggressively kick the intern out of the car, waiting for me to grab her wrist, ignore her fake, uncaring attitude, and tell her, "You're mine." But I didn't move. My legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Finally, the car door slammed shut. Vanessa sped. Away. She didn't take Toby home, and she didn't go get ramen with him. She dropped him off on the side of the road, said something came up, and drove away. She didn't go home either. She parked in a lot, and just sat there, looking like a little girl who had been left behind. The live comments told me all of this. The main character is just too much. How long is he going to torture her? If he just called her, Vanessa would swallow her pride and go to him. But he won't even do that. He doesn't actually think she likes the intern, does he? Her love for him is huge. How can he not feel it? Yeah, I couldn't feel it. I often couldn't. I was just so tired. I just wanted to sleep. I didn't want to be woken up in the middle of the night by her staring at me coldly. Finally, I called her. "Vanessa, when are you coming back?" Vanessa didn't wait for me the next morning. By the time I finished getting ready and went downstairs, her car was gone. I called a rideshare and waited a long time. It was morning rush hour. In the end, I was late. I had just sat down at my desk when her internal line buzzed. "In my office. We need to talk." When I pushed open her office door, Toby was there too. He was holding a pork bun up to Vanessa's mouth. "This is so good, seriously, Ms. Mercer, you have to try a bite." Vanessa was leaning back, looking disgusted. But when she saw me walk in, she froze, then took a small bite of the bun from Toby's hand. I looked down, pretending I didn't see it. "You wanted to see me?" The comments were still scrolling. The main character isn't even stopping them? Did he forget that she never eats anything with filling? Vanessa is about to explode. Her fists are clenched, her eyes are red. If the intern wasn't here, she'd probably be crying. This is so painful. I wish I could jump into his body and give her a huge hug. Finally, Vanessa spoke. "For the upcoming architectural art exhibition, take someone off the list and add Toby's name." What? I looked up, unable to believe what I was hearing. She met my eyes with a cold stare, her attitude telling me I hadn't misheard. Taking a deep breath, I asked, "Why?" Toby spoke up quietly. "Jack, don't blame Ms. Mercer. It was me. I really need this opportunity." "Shut up. I wasn't talking to you." My voice suddenly got loud. "Jack, I'm informing you, not negotiating with you. Just remove that guy, Mike. His performance is average anyway." Haha, could her jealousy be any more obvious? The comments read. Just because her husband was talking to Mike before he hung up on her yesterday? I can't. This is hilarious. I'm shipping this so hard. When will I ever find a love this sweet? Sweet? I licked my lips. The taste in my mouth was bitter. Mike was a good guy. He was hard-working and responsible, always the first to volunteer. His wife was pregnant and had to quit her job to stay home because of health issues. He told me that if he got the bonus from this project, he was going to set up the nursery. He said he couldn't give his child the best of everything, but he would make sure he gave them the healthiest start he could. I looked at Vanessa, then at Toby standing behind her, acting innocent, but with a hint of victory in his eyes. Finally, I gave in. Take me off. Put him on instead. Don't you touch anyone else on the team. Jack, I said don't you dare touch a single one of them. After saying what I needed to say, I turned and walked out, leaving the office and the company behind. The comments said Vanessa went crazy, smashed up her office, kicked Toby out, hurt herself in the process. The main character is just heartless. Doesn't he know why Vanessa is so insecure? He was the one who saved her from her dark place. Why can't he keep holding her hand? If you can't give 100% of your love, why did you ever get involved with her in the first place? I was 8 years old when I went to live with the Mercers. My father had remarried Vanessa's aunt. They traveled the world, so they left me at the family's old estate. Though I was technically a young master of the Mercer family, I was treated no better than the staff. I followed the nannies and butlers, learning to be charming and helpful. If I did little things for them, they were nice to me. The first time I met Vanessa was at a family dinner. She came with her mother, looking like a precious little princess with perfect manners. But just because she didn't eat a piece of meat her mother put on her plate, her mother dragged her into an empty corner and bit down hard on her arm. So you look down on me too, is that it? You're just like your ungrateful father. All you Mercers look down on me. She didn't cry or pull away. She just stood there like a lifeless doll. It was so sad to watch. So I gave her the only piece of chocolate I had. The nanny said it was imported, handmade, and very expensive. Once it was gone, it was gone. I'd been saving it, wanting to give it to my father when he came back. But in that moment, I felt like giving it to Vanessa was okay too. And so every time she came to the estate, I would give her the treats I had secretly saved. She would eat quietly while I talked. And then she suddenly asked, "Are you an idiot?" It was the first time she had ever spoken to me. My eyes went wide. And then the bird flew away. The kitten missed, and I laughed so hard. And the kitten turned around and glared at me. Can you believe it? The kitten glared at me. Idiot. Yeah, the kitten was a real idiot. I meant you're the idiot. The days passed slowly. I was always waiting for my father to come back. When he didn't, I waited for Vanessa to visit. I saved up a lot of snacks and had a belly full of stories. Then one day, Vanessa came, and with her came terrible news. My father and Vanessa's aunt had died in a car accident. I was 11. The Mercers wouldn't keep me anymore, and I had no other relatives. They decided to send me to an orphanage. I looked around at everyone, completely lost. I didn't understand how, in a single day, I could lose everything. Only Vanessa stepped forward. She took my hand. I want him. After leaving the company, I went to a nearby coffee shop. I sat there for a long time. To be honest, it didn't matter to me whether I was in charge of the exhibition or not. It wasn't a job I liked. When I graduated, Vanessa suggested I come work at her company. I didn't agree at first, so she gave me the silent treatment. She didn't understand why I wouldn't accept. The live comments didn't understand either. Vanessa just can't be without him. What's so wrong with that? The main character is just too ambitious. What's wrong with being a kept man, pampered by his girlfriend? He could live a life of leisure without ever working a day. I don't know what he's being so dramatic about. I wasn't being dramatic about anything. Vanessa was like a ghost or a cloud. She was unpredictable, and I could never truly reach her. I was always making her unhappy. When she was unhappy, she would delete my fingerprint from the door lock, change the password, and lock me out of the house. And I was so broke I didn't even have money for a place to stay. I wanted a job. At least if Vanessa threw me out, I wouldn't starve, die of thirst, or be homeless on the street. But I couldn't find one. For 3 months, I sent out countless resumes, but not a single company called me for an interview. My bank account was dangerously low. Finally, I went to Vanessa. "Can I come work at your company?" Vanessa looked down at me, a slight smile playing on her lips. I pushed my luck and asked to be in the software development department. Vanessa refused to even consider it and stuck me in the marketing department. I was in a department I wasn't good at, doing a job I wasn't good at. I figured maybe this is just what work is. You do your job, you get your paycheck. You shouldn't think too much, and you don't need to. But I was never satisfied. I didn't want it to be just this. It took me a year to go from hesitation to determination. I was sure of it. I had to continue my studies. Now I have my acceptance letter. I have to go. I was always going to leave. After all these years, I knew one thing for sure. My place was not by Vanessa's side. Vanessa's call came in the afternoon. Her voice was calm, empty of any emotion. "Today's your birthday. I booked you a flight. Haven't you always wanted to see the ocean? You go on ahead. I'll join you when I'm done with work." I thought this might be my chance. After my birthday, I would tell Vanessa everything. She wouldn't want me to go, but she definitely wouldn't stop me. All I had to do was not look back. And so I got on the plane and flew 1,000 miles away. I waited for Vanessa for 4 hours. I called her 3 times. None of them went through. On the 5th call, Vanessa's assistant answered, "Mr. Miller? Is Ms. Mercer there?" "She's preparing a proposal scene. She's going to propose to Toby." The moment I heard those words, my ears started ringing. I was stunned for a long time. I hung up the phone and sat by the ocean. The live comments were all laughing. "Bet you feel stupid now. Seriously, does he have to lose her to realize what he had?" "Relax, it's just a test from Vanessa. As long as the main character rushes back to crash it, the proposal will be for him." A new message popped up on my phone. I clicked on it. It was 2 videos from one of Vanessa's friends. In the first one, you could only see Vanessa's profile as she leaned against the terrace railing, smoking. "Are you really going to propose to that intern? What about Jack?" She smiled coolly. "You don't get it. You can date anyone, but I only marry men under 26. Today is Jack's 26th birthday." 2 seconds of silence, then a roar of laughter. The second video showed Vanessa from behind. She stood before a line of bodyguards. She said sternly, "Get a good look at the person in this photo. You are not to let him up here." After the 2 videos was a text message. "Jack, you saw it. I'd advise you not to come back or you'll just be embarrassing yourself." I didn't need the live comments to know that Vanessa was behind all of this. It was her usual tactic, a slap in the face followed by a piece of candy. Push me to the edge, then let me fight my way back to prove my love for her. I had proven it so many times, but it never seemed to be enough. I remember my teacher telling us before the SATs that we had to learn to give up. Give up on the problems you can't solve, no matter how hard you think. Allocate your energy to the questions you have a better chance with. Use your wisdom to trade for points. The SATs aren't about getting every question right, but about winning as many points as you can within the rules. I used to understand that. Then I forgot. Now I thought, it's probably not too late to pick that strategy up again. It took me 2.5 hours to get back to the city from 1,000 miles away. It took another 45 minutes to get from the airport to the place I shared with Vanessa. I packed the essentials, grabbed my documents, and couldn't even fill a single suitcase. Before I left, I deleted my fingerprint from the door lock. It was a childish little act of revenge. I stood at the door and chuckled foolishly for a moment. Finally, I turned and left. An hour and a half later, I was at the airport. What the hell is the main character doing? Doesn't he know Vanessa is just waiting for him to crash the proposal? 30 minutes left. If he doesn't get there, she's going to have to go through with it. What do you mean, go through with it? Can't you see she's already falling apart? Seriously, sensitive people really need a love that's constant and unwavering. He's just changed. If it were me, even if Vanessa was all thorns, I'd still hug her, thorns and all. I looked down, then raised my head again. These comments were just like Vanessa. They had clipped my wings and tied my feet. They told me Vanessa loved me. When I was 14, Vanessa left me stranded on the side of the road. The comments said it was my fault for helping another girl with her homework. Vanessa was jealous. But even then, she was worried about me. She hadn't really left. She had circled back and was following me from behind. When I was 15, Vanessa threw the birthday cake I'd made for her into the trash. The comments were speechless. Vanessa wanted to carry his backpack for him. How could he say no? Doesn't he know he was rejecting a piece of her heart? When I was 16, it was time for me to confess my feelings to Vanessa, but she wouldn't accept. She would reject me countless times, and I had to persevere until she was satisfied. When I was 17, Vanessa finally said yes. The comments said she had finally softened up for me. When I was 18, she changed my college application. The comments said it was a test. What was more important, Vanessa or my future? For the first time, I broke down. My voice choked with sobs as I told her, "You're important. You're the most important. You're the most important person in the world to me. Without you, I don't know what would have happened to me. You gave me a place to live. You fed me. You clothed me. You paid my tuition. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. But Vanessa, I want to go to college there." Vanessa asked me, "Do you love me or are you just repaying me?" I forced a smile. "I love you." I didn't expect to run into David Sterling at the airport. He was a few years older than Vanessa. In their circle, he was the guy everyone looked up to. While Vanessa and her friends were still getting into street fights, he had already taken his company public. He'd made a name for himself in gaming software engineering and development. In college, I used to think, I have to become like him, catch up to him, and surpass him. But he hated me. For a man who never showed his emotions, his likes and dislikes were usually hidden. But he'd gone out of his way to say he didn't like people like me. Vanessa once asked me, "When did you piss him off?" I shook my head and said I didn't know. So she warned me, "Then stay out of his way when you see him. Otherwise, not even I can protect you." With that in mind, I turned to go the other way. But his executive assistant stopped me. "Mr. Miller, Mr. Sterling would like to invite you to join him. Would you do him the honor?" I forced a smile. It wasn't like I could refuse. Besides, I was curious why he was inviting me over. So I went and sat down. He was wearing rimless glasses, staring at his laptop. He didn't even look up. He just asked coolly, "What are you drinking?" "Nothing for me, thanks." "2 double espressos." "Right away, sir." My mouth twitched. No one was speaking up for me. Finally, he looked up. He took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "I need a pick-me-up, and I figure you can't sleep either." Oh, was that an explanation? "Thank you, Mr. Sterling." He looked at me, his gaze deep, carrying the calm and detached air of a man in power. But when he spoke, his tone was surprisingly gossipy. "Are you running away?" I looked at him, surprised. He raised an eyebrow. "Seeing you here at this particular moment is the only conclusion I can draw." I was even more surprised. "You know about it too?" He tapped his phone, brought up a live stream, and pushed it in front of me. The whole city knows. In the stream, Vanessa was holding a bouquet of roses, slowly walking toward a young man in the center of the stage. She was proposing. A live-streamed proposal. David closed his phone. "You're not going over there?" "No." He gave a slight nod. "So you're not a complete idiot." Just then, David's assistant returned. He placed the coffee in front of me. "Drink up. If you're going to leave, leave with a clear head." For some reason, I felt there was a hidden meaning in his words. Finally, I couldn't hold back and asked, "Mr. Sterling, why do you hate me?" David didn't answer right away. He took a sip of his coffee, his Adam's apple bobbing. After a moment, he spoke. "I have a question for you too. Do you remember me?" His question stunned me. I couldn't recall ever crossing paths with David Sterling before. He had only returned to the country in recent years, having been abroad before that, and I had never been to the country where he lived. He seemed to notice my hesitation and confusion. David smiled and leaned in closer. "Do you know why I hate you? I hate people who squander their talent." Then he said a name. Instantly, I froze. It was from an algorithm competition I participated in when I was 19. I had won second place. But before I could even get on the podium, I rushed back to the country. Vanessa had a crisis. Provoked by her mother and triggered by my absence, she had a breakdown and cut her wrists. She was in the hospital for 6 months. I stayed by her side for 6 months, never leaving. During that time, I received an invitation from a team. They invited me to participate in developing an engine for a new game, saying their company was... I didn't hear the rest. I hung up, because Vanessa was having another episode. Suddenly, I looked up. That voice, it was David Sterling. "Looks like you remember now." He stood up. I always regretted not being able to recruit that young genius, but I figured he was destined for a bigger stage. And what happens? He ends up in marketing. Jack, do you regret it? David was already gone. The cups on the table had been cleared away. It was as if nothing had happened. But I knew it wasn't true. I couldn't help but bury my face in my hands. Did I regret it? I don't know. At 19, Vanessa was more important than anything. At 26, I want to find out who Jack Miller is. That year, I fired a bullet at my own dream. Years later, it hit me right between the eyes. According to what I learned later, after I hung up the phone, Vanessa stood frozen for a long time until a friend came over and nudged her. She dazedly handed over her phone. Here, look, is my phone broken? What's wrong? It's not broken. It's working fine. Impossible. If it's not broken, why did Jack hang up on me? Her friend paused, scratching their head awkwardly. Jack hung up? What nonsense are you spouting? Vanessa yelled, clutching her phone and storming off. Jack would never hang up on me. She rushed downstairs and grabbed one of the bodyguards. Did you hurt Jack? I warned you, just put on a show. Don't actually touch him. The bodyguards looked at each other, confused. But Mr. Miller never came. Impossible. Did you not see him? Did he get in through another entrance? The cameras. Check the security cameras. Everyone scrambled, but Vanessa suddenly seemed to have an idea, and her eyes lit up. Today is Jack's birthday. He must be at the beach waiting for me. He loves looking at the ocean. He must be waiting for me to find him. What time is it? Her assistant quickly checked. 1:12 a.m. The light in Vanessa's eyes dimmed slightly, but she immediately reassured herself. It's fine. I got Jack a present. I can make it up to him. It's only been a little over an hour. He won't be mad at me." Vanessa started to walk off. Toby, who had been left stranded on the rooftop, finally caught up. He grabbed Vanessa's arm. "Ms. Mercer, where are you going? Our ceremony isn't finished. Why aren't we continuing? Didn't you say you wanted to marry me? You said you liked me, didn't you?" "Who are you going to find now? Jack? Then what am I?" "Get off me!" Vanessa yelled, trying to shake him off. But Toby held on tight, his face flushed. "You were about to propose to me." "What the hell is he? And what the hell are you?" Vanessa grabbed Toby by the throat, her look terrifying, as if she wanted to eat him alive. "You knew I had a boyfriend, but you still came on to me, flirted with me? I was just using you. Did you actually take it seriously?" She shoved Toby aside. "Don't ever let me see you again." It was 3 hours later when Vanessa finally reached the beach. She had just gotten off the plane when her assistant called to say they had checked my flight information. I had returned to the city. At that moment, Vanessa's anxious heart finally settled. She slowed her pace, no longer in a hurry. She laughed at herself. She must have been crazy to think Jack would just disappear. This was Jack, after all. Vanessa's Jack. He would never leave her. He knew she couldn't live without him, too. It's just that he'd behaved badly this time. Of course, she had gone a bit too far herself. She thought, "As long as Jack comes and apologizes, I'll forgive him. I won't set up any more hurdles." Vanessa walked slowly toward the shore. The night sea was black. She suddenly wanted to know how long I had waited there and what I had done. In the distance, a small shop decorated with string lights was still open, selling coffee, desserts, and little trinkets. The owner was resting his head, half asleep. Vanessa tapped on the counter. "Huh? What can I get for you?" "Can I see your security footage? Did you lose something?" "Yeah, my boyfriend." The kind-hearted owner quickly pulled up the footage. Soon, Vanessa found me. I was dressed in simple pants and a t-shirt, my hair messy, standing tall. I stood by the shore for a while, then found a place to sit down. I would look out at the ocean, then at my phone, but mostly I was just zoning out. Time ticked by. Every 40 minutes, I would make a call. Vanessa's hand hanging by her side twitched. All those calls were to her. She had been smoking, listening to her phone ring, and hadn't answered a single one. It had been a thrilling feeling. She loved seeing me anxious, helpless, even in pain because of her. My pain was the only way she could feel my love. But now, watching my calmness on the monitor, Vanessa suddenly felt disconnected. There was no hysteria, no agony. It was as if I were just completing a task. Vanessa fast-forwarded the video, the things her friends had sent to me. It had all been her idea. She wanted me to be anxious, to be regretful. But what did she get? Nothing. Just the same dead calm. In an instant, it was as if an invisible hand was squeezing Vanessa's throat. She couldn't figure out what was making her panic. It was suffocating. Like a massive storm was about to hit, the dark clouds pressing down, making it hard to breathe. In that moment, Vanessa had only one thought. She had to see me. But I was gone. Flight records showed that I had returned to the city. But I wasn't at home, and I wasn't at the office. Where else could I have gone? Vanessa sat in the living room from midnight until dawn. Her assistant, wiping away sweat, shook his head. "Ms. Mercer, I'll keep sending people to look." Vanessa's face was dark as she threw the glass in her hand against the wall. "Stop looking. Let him go. If he dares to run away from home, he better be prepared for the consequences." This time, I had truly made her angry. She wanted to see where else in this city I could possibly go besides her side. It's my 13th day in my new country. I left in such a hurry, with the dramatic air of someone abandoning everything to start anew. But I knew that all this decisiveness was just a way to break through my own fear. I am terrified of leaving. Moving from one place to another has always been painful for me. As a child, my living situation was unstable. No matter where I went, it felt like I was living on someone else's charity. I would carve out a small space for myself. All my things were piled up there. My sense of security was there. After Vanessa took me in, I did the same thing. She was disgusted. "Why can't you hang your clothes up properly? You've turned a perfectly good room into a dog kennel." She forced me to change. I was obedient. I changed everything, at least on the surface. But in reality, after all these years, the only thing that truly belonged to me could fit into one small suitcase. To be able to pick up that suitcase and leave, that was both the backup plan I had always prepared for and the thing I had always dreaded. This time, I didn't give myself much time to think. I pushed myself to this point, and it turned out not to be so bad. Finding an apartment, getting familiar with the area, buying things, once you start doing them, none of these things are that hard. And then, on the 8th day, I suddenly realized I couldn't see the live comments anymore. That day, my birthday, I didn't crash the proposal. Instead, I chose to leave the country. The comments started cursing me. They demanded to know why I couldn't be nicer to Vanessa. She was so tragic, so pitiful. She had finally given her heart to someone, so why couldn't I hold it carefully? Why did I have to hurt her and make her sad? The comments grew denser, more numerous. They urged me to go back, to find Vanessa, to apologize, to save her, to love her. They crashed over me like a tidal wave, almost drowning me. I buried myself under the covers, shut my eyes, and plugged my ears. I forced myself to ignore them, to blur everything in front of me. I was busy. I had a lot to do. Finding a place wasn't easy. People will always try to rip off a newcomer. They take advantage of you because you don't know the market, because you don't know your way around. They inflate prices and pass off junk as quality. I looked at many places, made a lot of comparisons, and finally made a decision. Those first few days, I was so exhausted I could fall asleep the moment I lay down. Before drifting off, I'd think to myself that something felt missing. It wasn't until the next morning, as I sat up in bed, that I suddenly realized there were fewer comments. Just a few sparse ones shouting, "Vanessa is starting to have sleepless nights." What the hell does he want? Is he trying to drive her to her death? He's going to regret this. He'll pay for what he's done. I looked away and got up to wash my face. A rented room isn't a home. But when the landlord handed me the keys, my eyes suddenly welled up. I wanted to buy a throw blanket for the sofa and a pillow so I could curl up and read. The desk needed a lamp, and maybe I could fit a small vase there. I wanted to buy a big bowl, big enough to put all my food into one dish. That's how I wanted to eat. Maybe I could put a rug by the bed. It would feel so nice to step on it with bare feet. I ran all over the place, walked for miles. Everything I brought back to my apartment was carefully chosen. The days went by, and every place my feet had touched became etched in my memory. The streets, the shops, the people. I was starting to get to know this place. Until the 8th day. I was sitting and quietly drinking a cup of coffee. A skateboarder zipped by. A street performer started to sing. A cool breeze brushed past, and I stood up to leave. Suddenly I realized the live comments were gone. I looked around in a panic, again and again. Finally, I was sure. They were really gone. Did they disappear today? Or had they been gone before today? I had no way of knowing. But in that moment, I suddenly lost control. I squatted down on the sidewalk, wrapped my arms around myself, and sobbed. 8 days. Just 8 days. The comments that had floated before my eyes for decades were gone. So all these years, what had trapped me? The comments, Vanessa, or myself? Vanessa didn't truly realize I was gone until a month and a half later. At first, she was confident I would show up soon. I had always been such an easy kid to understand. Kind, naive, insecure, a people pleaser. A kid like that was too easy to control. You just had to be a little nice to him, and he'd never leave you. Make him feel like you needed him too, and he would devote his entire self to you. But this kid still had fangs. He was too smart, learned everything quickly, and was always at the top of his class. The more he knew, the more likely he was to turn around and bite you. So Vanessa always followed a piece of candy with a slap. You couldn't be too nice to him. He'd get spoiled. But you couldn't be too mean either. If it hurt too much, he'd run. Over the years, Vanessa believed she had managed everything perfectly. I would always come back. I couldn't leave her, and I knew she couldn't live without me. Like a baby elephant chained up. If you train it right, it won't run away even after you remove the chains. But as the days went by, there was no word from me. Vanessa grew more and more silent. She smoked more, and her temper grew shorter. One day, as she passed the marketing department, she heard someone inside say, "Jack used to be the contact for this client, but his phone isn't working. What do we do?" Vanessa's face instantly darkened. She kicked over a flower pot by the door. "Do your job! If you can't, get out! You think the company can't function without Jack?" From then on, my name became a taboo word in the company. Vanessa started having trouble sleeping. At first, it was just difficulty falling asleep. Then she started waking up with a jolt. She would hear my voice. I'd open the door and say, "I'm back." Vanessa would rush downstairs and snap, "You finally decided to come back?" But there was no Jack. There was nothing. Vanessa didn't believe it. She checked the security cameras at home, then the building's security footage. "Mr. Miller really hasn't been back." "Ms. Mercer, are you sure you didn't just imagine it?" Vanessa returned home, her face grim. After that, she couldn't sleep at all. Sitting in her office, pressing on her throbbing temples, Vanessa spoke in a heavy breath. "Jack, I don't feel well." The moment the words left her mouth, she froze. A searing pain shot through her, and Vanessa could barely breathe. "Ms. Mercer, what's wrong?" She grabbed her assistant. "Find him." "Find who?" "Jack Miller." I chose a 1.5-year taught master's program for my studies abroad. During that time, I leveraged my history as a former algorithm competition runner-up to its absolute limit. They say you shouldn't rest on your past achievements, but achievements are still achievements. If they have value, why not use them? Besides, algorithmic thinking is like muscle memory. I could pick it up again 10 times faster than any beginner. So I joined a lab pretty quickly. In my second semester, I applied to be a teaching assistant, partly to supplement my income and partly to pad my future resume. Of course, this also meant my schedule became increasingly tight, and I even had to pull all-nighters to run experiments. Later, I followed a professor to observe a competition and unexpectedly ran into David Sterling. "Mr. Sterling? Long time no see." I could feel that his attitude toward me was much better than before. He asked about how I was doing. Given our relationship, I should have answered with casual pleasantries. But for some reason, I felt the nervousness of a junior being questioned by a mentor. I couldn't help but lay out my academic situation and plans for the next phase. David didn't seem impatient. He listened carefully. Finally, he nodded. "You can start preparing for interviews next semester. Do you have any companies in mind?" maybe I was pushing my luck, but I couldn't resist asking. Do you have any recommendations, Mr. Sterling? Vertex Systems. Your company? You've heard of it? I nodded vigorously. How could I not have? I just assumed that after our unpleasant history, he wouldn't want me in his company. My reaction must have amused him, because David's lips curved into a smile, and he took out his business card. Well then, Mr. Miller, please consider our company first. We have a branch here too, so if you're willing, I'll be returning to my home country. I knew what David was implying. But I'm going to work and live a normal life, not hide forever. David nodded. Then let me add another incentive. I guarantee that before you return, you will not be disturbed by anyone. A warmth spread through my heart. Mr. Sterling, thank you. I will make sure your bet on me pays off double. I completed my studies and graduated successfully. The day I returned, a guy named Sam picked me up. He was Vertex's chief architect. We had communicated for work online before, but this was our first time meeting in person. He was yawning, looking like he hadn't woken up yet. It made me offer, "Do you want me to drive?" I hadn't driven much since getting my license, but it had to be better than him driving tired. But he was stubborn. He insisted on driving himself. The boss wants me to take you to the office first. It's a bit urgent. Okay, let's go. His jaw dropped. You just got off a plane, you haven't even signed an employment contract, and you have to start working? Aren't you going to curse the evils of capitalism, or are you just being polite because I'm here? It's okay, you can curse. I can cover my ears. From just those few sentences, I could tell how deep his resentment ran. I couldn't help but ask, "How many all-nighters have you pulled?" I shouldn't have asked. He almost burst into tears. "How many all-nighters? Why don't you ask how many days it's been since I've been home? My wife has already started telling everyone I'm her free-range husband." At the time, I just felt sorry for him. It wasn't until I faced the same work-life crisis that I finally understood. My 7-figure salary was well earned. I ran into Vanessa 4 months after returning to the country. This city is huge. Bumping into someone by chance is really not easy. That day, I was just dead tired and went downstairs to buy a coffee. As we passed each other, someone suddenly grabbed my arm. "Jack." The voice was rough, scratchy, and almost unrecognizable. I turned and saw Vanessa. Thin, tired, with an exhaustion she could barely hide. But my gaze was calm, and my heart was just as peaceful. I could even manage a smile and a nod. "Long time no see." Then I gently pulled my arm away. "Goodbye." I didn't think much of the chance encounter, but as I was getting ready to leave work, David Sterling knocked on my desk. "Vanessa is downstairs." I looked up, startled. "Sorry, I'll go talk to her." But David stopped me. "I'm telling you this, so you know you can take the private elevator if you don't want to see her." I thought for a moment. "It's okay, I have to see her eventually." "Jack, Vanessa has been looking for you like crazy this past 1.5 years." David's words stunned me. I remembered when I first left the country, I was terrified that Vanessa would suddenly appear in front of me. I would often wake up with a start, constantly feeling like someone was behind me. It wasn't until David gave me his promise that I finally relaxed. Slowly, I started to think I had been overthinking things, making myself out to be more important than I was. Vanessa and I just had a bad breakup. We would go our separate ways, and if we met again, we'd just be acquaintances who nod at each other. Until now, hearing David say this. "From the very beginning?" He nodded. "I was the one who hid your flight information. Otherwise, Vanessa probably would have found you long ago. Over the past 1.5 years, she's done a lot of crazy things. She got a college student named Toby expelled. She had her mother committed to a psychiatric hospital. She was removed from the board of directors for physically assaulting people on several occasions. Now she's just drowning herself in partying, living day to day. But the one thing she hasn't given up on is finding you. I checked the security footage. She followed you all the way to the company, asked the front desk for your name, and confirmed it several times. The reason she didn't do anything when she saw you is probably because she couldn't process it. I've heard she's been having hallucinations. I was dazed for a long time. David didn't leave. He pulled up a chair and sat across from me. My hands on the desk slowly tightened into fists. I looked up at him. "Boss, what do I do?" David suddenly smiled. I have to say, I'm very impressed. His goal was probably to tease me, and it worked. I actually smiled. How could I? Maybe I would have in the past. But I've grown up, haven't I? He stood up. "Come on, I'll take you home." Vanessa waited for me for 3 days. That was the limit of her patience. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, she tried to force her way in. David told me not to worry about anything and just focus on creating value for him. He chose to call the police. Vanessa was taken away. Because she had hit one of the security guards, she was detained for 7 days. After 7 days, she didn't show up again. I wasn't naive enough to think she had learned her lesson, and I couldn't keep hiding every time I went out. In the end, I decided to take the initiative and ask her to meet. I called her. The moment I said hello, she laughed. "David Sterling?" So it was David Sterling. He's the one who took you, who hid you. No wonder I couldn't find you no matter how hard I looked. "Jack, how dare you? You're mine. You can only be mine." Once, Vanessa was the one who held total power over me. I was her puppet, and she controlled my every move. I loved her, and I was afraid of her. Later, I thought maybe I didn't love her at all. Maybe it was just an attachment born from fear. Then later, I thought that admitting I did love her once wasn't such a big deal. Now, hearing her words, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. "A bit cringe. Okay, let's meet. Come to the office tomorrow at noon. Someone will bring you to me." Without waiting for her to continue, I hung up. My home turf, surrounded by a bunch of overworked corporate staff. Call me a coward, I don't care. I refuse to believe she could do anything to me here. The next day at noon, Vanessa arrived while I was eating my lunch. She stared at me, her look fierce. I was completely unaffected. "Have a seat in there. Give me 5 minutes." I ate rice while keeping an eye on a running program. By the time I finished the last bite, the program had finished running. I got up and went into the conference room. The moment the door closed, Vanessa suddenly moved toward me. "Don't make a scene." I pointed the object in my hand at her. A little gadget the R&D kids made. It's not lethal, but it can knock you out instantly. Vanessa froze. I could see her chest moving up and down, her jaw clenched, her fists tight. She looked at me as if I were her enemy. She probably had a lot to say. But I didn't have much, so I spoke first. "All right, name your price. What will it take for you to stop harassing me?" "Impossible." Even her words were poisonous. "You owe me, Jack. Why do you get to decide when it's over?" I pressed my lips together and clicked my tongue. My dad died in a car accident. Back then, a human life was worth about $50,000 to $80,000. That money should be with you. It should be more than enough to cover my living expenses at your family's house all those years. Vanessa was stunned. She probably never expected me to say something like that. "You're talking to me about money. Jack, do you think what you owe me is just money? If it weren't for me back then, what do you think would have happened to you? You know, don't you?" That much was true. The ones who suggested sending me to an orphanage were the nice ones. Some of the other relatives had already started sizing me up openly. His dad was a handsome guy. The kid's already so good-looking at this age. In a couple of years, he'll be something else. It'd be a waste to send him away. Better to just keep raising him. Those words were my nightmare. So when Vanessa appeared back then, she became my savior. But I was with you for 14 years. I was your emotional punching bag, your stress toy, and your bedmate. That should be enough to repay a life debt, don't you think? Jack, do you have any idea what you're saying? Our years of love and affection in your mouth just become emotional punching bag, stress toy, and bedmate? That one was hard to answer. When I talk about our relationship, you talk about repaying a debt. When I talk about repaying a debt, you talk about our relationship. Vanessa, that's called being unreasonable. You get it? She paused, then suddenly lowered her head and began to laugh, her body shaking. When she looked up again, her eyes were red. Jack, say my name again. She's lost her mind. My face hardened as I looked at Vanessa. Her eyes held a hidden pain and a hidden madness. It was clear we weren't going to reach any conclusion. I prepared to leave. A flash of panic crossed her face, and she tried to step forward again. And again she was forced back by the object in my hand. Finally, she took a deep breath. Jack, I was wrong. I was wrong before. I'll change everything. Just come back and we can start over. Jack, just take pity on me. Vanessa trembled as she pulled up her sleeves, revealing the scars on her wrists. I'll die. Without you, I'll die. I stared at the marks for a long time. I saw a flash of wild joy in Vanessa's eyes, thinking she had moved me. But I just said flatly, too light. What? Your cuts were too light. They won't leave scars. All emotion froze on Vanessa's face. My expression remained blank. At the same time, I pulled up my own sleeve. You have to cut with this much force for it to be called slitting your wrists. In an instant, Vanessa stopped breathing. She trembled, wanting to reach out, her hand, but then snatched it back as if she'd been electrocuted. Why? Of all the things she had said today, those two words were the most sincere I'd heard. But I found it funny. People really can lie so much they start to believe their own lies. You don't know why? Are you saying you don't know when I cut my wrists? Or is there a single scar here whose story you don't know? You know all of it. In fact, my willingness to slit my wrists rather than leave you was the proof that I loved you, right? Maybe neither Vanessa nor I were completely normal people. There was a time when I thought the life or death agony between us was normal. You only know love through pain. The deeper the pain, the deeper the love. But it wasn't until I saw a bigger world and met more people that I suddenly realized that's not how it is. My therapist said that the reconciliation after a heated argument triggers a dopamine rush 300% higher than normal interaction, and this psychological addiction can make people mistake pain for love. But pain only breeds submission. Only real love can breed the strength that allows you to grow. When a relationship needs to be fed with blood, it is absolutely a fake version of love. Vanessa, there's only one reason I left you. I'm trying to survive. If we stay together, I'll either kill myself or kill you. No, Vanessa almost screamed. No, Jack, it's not like that. You're just angry. Come back. We can start over. I'll go to the beach with you. Vanessa, I interrupted her. The one who likes to look at the ocean is you, not me. Finally, this is the last time we will ever meet. Your stalking, harassment, forced entry, assault, and your extreme behavior today. I will submit all of it to the authorities. The company's legal team will build a legal wall for me within 24 hours. After that, you will receive a written warning. From then on, every instance of you harassing me will result in legal consequences." Vanessa didn't believe it. She chased my car, struggling against the police officers who were taking her away, pressing against the car window. I didn't even get out. She sent me messages, and each one received an automated reply. "Harassment incident recorded and synced with police. Next incident will trigger penalties." She found where I lived and tried to drug me. I tased her in return and used my last ounce of strength to call the police. Vanessa was in illegal possession of a controlled substance. To trace its source, the police searched her residence and found a hidden room in her basement. Based on the items purchased, it was clear she had intended to kidnap and imprison someone long-term. Even though she only managed to drug you, the secret room and the items inside can be used as evidence. Illegal detention, intentional injury, attempted assault, and illegal possession of a controlled substance. With multiple charges, she won't get off easy. David told me this while watching me closely. One wasn't just talking about Vanessa. He was also telling me what could have happened to me if things had gone differently. I felt a bit helpless. Well, it didn't happen. I've been working out and lifting weights not for nothing. It was just a bit sudden, but I fought back pretty well. And I'm supposed to praise you for that? I nodded. I think so. David laughed, frustrated. I only needed to cooperate with the police for the follow-up. The company's legal team handled the rest. They said Vanessa kept demanding to see me and asked if I would go. I didn't even look up. No. Life was busy and fulfilling. One day, as I was walking into the office, the young woman at the front desk stopped me. "Jack, there's a letter for you here. A guy named Toby asked me to give it to you." Toby. I was very surprised. I had almost forgotten who he was. What could he be writing to me about? But I opened it anyway. It said, "Jack, thank you, and I'm sorry." He wrote that after Vanessa got drunk, he had tried to get close to her to force the issue and make her take responsibility for him. But not only did Vanessa do nothing, she flew into a rage and had him expelled from school. The love he thought he had was gone. His dream of marrying rich was shattered, and he didn't even get his degree. Toby was lost for a while. With my return and Vanessa's renewed obsession with me, his thoughts turned to extremes. A knife, a target. He was heading for Vanessa. That day Vanessa followed me, and I called the police. She had screamed, eyes red, "You might as well just kill me!" You said, "It's not worth throwing away my life for you." Jack, if it weren't for you, I definitely would have thrown my life away. So thank you. Closing the letter, I couldn't help but smile. My colleague Sam asked me, "What are you smiling about?" "Nothing, just suddenly remembered a quote." "What quote?" "I acknowledge all of yesterday's sorrows, but I refuse to let them define tomorrow's dawn." Sam blinked, then suddenly yelled, "David, you monster, you've driven another one insane!" I paused, then burst out laughing. Laughter is contagious. Before long, everyone in the office was laughing. I looked out the window. I acknowledge all of yesterday's sorrows, but I refuse to let them define tomorrow's dawn. From this moment on, my bones are the branches of a new tree. My heart is a star pulling itself back together, and every beat resets the countdown, infinite seconds remaining until I'm reborn.